That's when we got the call. A local investigative reporter named Mara Lang wanted to cover the story. She'd been digging into fake HOAs and was shocked by what we sent her. She went public the following week with an expose titled, "The Suburban Queen with No Crown, Karen's Phantom HOA Empire." It featured blurred footage of Karen placing fake notices on people's doors, along with county officials calling it one of the most elaborate neighbor scams they'd ever seen. Karen's response? She live-streamed from her front porch claiming it was all a deep state smear campaign to silence suburban women. Wearing a tiara. I wish I was joking, but it didn't work. People started coming forward. A woman from her old development in Henderson emailed a reporter with documents and photos. One couple from Mesa submitted court transcripts from a small claims battle she'd lost and conveniently left off her record. It all unraveled fast. The city council held a public forum to address neighborhood-based governance abuses, and Karen showed up with a binder thicker than a Bible, demanding to speak. She tried to reframe herself as a volunteer civic architect, whatever that means, and handed out cards that said consultant for community order. The councilman read it out loud and said flatly, "You're not consulting, you're conning." By then, her fake badge, website, and tip line were all suspended. But Karen wasn't done. She threatened to sue the city, the reporter, me, basically anyone with a pulse. Problem is, she filed all her court paperwork in the name of the fake HOA. When the judge received it, he issued a notice of hearing to determine whether the plaintiff even legally existed. Spoiler, it didn't. That hearing was coming. The neighborhood buzzed like it was a Super Bowl. Karen thought she could scare us into silence. But instead, she triggered the one thing she never expected: community unity. People were finally ready to stand up, because this wasn't about fences, lawns, or driveways anymore. This was about one woman's obsession with control and a group of neighbors who'd finally had enough. The courtroom smelled faintly of bleach and burnt coffee, the kind of municipal space where real problems get buried under cheap fluorescent lighting. But on this particular Thursday morning, it was the stage for Karen's delusions to die. She walked in like she was a guest of honor at a gala. Pearl necklace, clipboard under one arm, a stack of fake HOA folders like she was here to present quarterly financials for Google. She even brought an easel. I watched in the second row with Carl and three other neighbors, Greg, Carol, and a retired Army vet named Duke, who brought popcorn in a Ziploc bag. The judge, a thin-lipped woman with short fuse and sharp gavel, raised one eyebrow the moment Karen introduced herself as acting director of the Maple Hills Community Enrichment Authority. "And what legal entity is that registered under?" the judge asked. Karen smiled. "Well, that depends on your definition of ma'am," the judge interrupted. "Legal definitions are my job. Try again." Karen faltered. "It's a provisional civic structure recognized by resident consensus." Carl passed me a sticky note that just said, "She's cooked." The judge asked for documentation proving the HOA's legitimacy. Karen fumbled with her folder and handed over a printout of her homemade charter, complete with color-coded clip art, a watermark, an American flag, and the tagline: "Order, harmony, excellence." The courtroom burst into soft laughter. Karen's eyes darted around like a substitute teacher losing control of class. Then came the real blow. Carl stood and submitted our packet. It included sworn statements from 16 residents, the city's official stance, emails from her previous neighborhoods detailing similar schemes, and a notarized copy of the fake lien she attempted to file against my property. The judge flipped through the pages, sighed, and then asked, "Ms. Abernathy, did you file any liens or fines under this organization's name?" Karen tried to deflect. The community needed guidance. We were spiraling into chaos, non-matching mulch, unregistered yard decor. Someone had a mailbox shaped like a cat. The judge tapped her gavel once. "Did you or did you not file a lien against a defendant's property without legal authority?" Karen froze. Then, in a tone half defiant, half delusional, "I was preserving the value of the neighborhood. Sometimes leadership requires bold action." Wrong answer. The judge didn't yell. She didn't have to. Her next words cut cleaner than any insult. "You are not a leader. You're a fraud with a printer and too much free time." Carl grinned. "Your Honor, we'd like to submit a motion to dismiss the plaintiff's filing and refer all evidence to the county prosecutor for consideration of criminal fraud." Karen's mouth dropped. "Criminal? This is a misunderstanding." But the judge was already writing. "Ma'am, I'm referring this matter for further review. In the meantime, you are to cease and desist all neighborhood communications, formal or informal, effective immediately. If I hear you're taping notices to a lamppost, you'll be back here in cuffs." The courtroom gasped. Karen stumbled through a last-ditch statement about misrepresented intentions and grassroots governance, but it was too late. The myth of her authority had just evaporated under oath. Outside the courthouse, the crowd that had gathered, neighbors, city clerks, and one local news crew, applauded when Carl confirmed the judge's ruling. Karen stormed past the cameras, hiding her face behind a binder like a celebrity dodging TMZ. Her minivan was boxing by a sanitation truck, which felt karmic. One reporter tried to ask, "Ms. Abernathy, do you regret trying to find your neighbors for chalk drawings and overgrown basil?" She hissed, "No comment," before peeling off like a getaway driver in a church parking lot. The next day, a notice went out from the city zoning office officially declaring her organization illegitimate and advising residents to disregard all past notices, fines, or threats. Just like that, the spell was broken. The badge, the seal, the rules, null and void. But I knew Karen wouldn't just disappear. Tyrants don't retire quietly. And I was right, because the fallout had only just begun. The prosecutor was circling. The IRS was sniffing around. And someone somewhere had leaked that she'd been funneling HOA dues into a private account labeled Community Operations, which just so happened to match the name of her Etsy store. That's when I knew this wasn't just over. It was about to go federal. 3 days after the courthouse takedown, I came home to find 2 men in windbreakers parked outside Karen's house. No sirens, no drama, just plain sedans and notepads. The kind of visit that means serious trouble quietly arrived. It was the IRS and a representative from the state attorney general's office. Karen stood on her porch in workout leggings and a t-shirt that said "Boss Babe," a look that didn't exactly scream innocent. One agent held up a folder as he spoke to her, and I swear her face went ghost white mid-sentence. Turns out Carl had tipped him off about the money, because during his document deep dive, he found the missing piece that turned a messy neighborhood scam into a potential felony. Karen had opened a PayPal business account under the name Maple Hills Enrichment Trust, and through that account, she collected more than $14,000 in compliance dues, grass beautification assessments, and decor licensing fees. The worst part? She didn't stop at this neighborhood. She'd set up subscription auto payments in her previous 2 communities, quietly raking in HOA-style payments from elderly residents too afraid or confused to question the charges. The PayPal receipts? They were funneled straight into an account also used for her side hustle, an online Etsy shop called Karen's Cornerstone Home Goods. The items? Gnome hats, motivational plaques, and hilariously, official HOA citation pads. Yes, she sold the same pads she used to find people. The IRS began auditing the business, and within 48 hours, froze both her Etsy revenue and her PayPal account. But that wasn't all. A neighbor's niece, a law student with a minor god complex and a love of chaos, dug into Karen's incorporation filings and discovered that she'd fraudulently filed 501c for status for Maple Hill Civic Action Network, which she used to write off her expenses as community development outreach. That included ink, office chairs, a drone, and bizarrely, a wine fridge. Carl filed an official fraud alert with the IRS, who then subpoenaed her business tax returns. Karen's response? A full meltdown on the next thread. She posted an 800-word rant titled Enemies Within, where she claimed a coordinated smear campaign by anti-family anarchists was weaponizing bureaucracy against her. My favorite line? You may win in court, but I win in community. Except she didn't. Her allies evaporated faster than her PayPal funds. Greg screen capped the post and commented, "Community does accept monopoly money or wine-soaked citations." Meanwhile, the city issued a temporary restraining order preventing Karen from contacting or photographing any neighbors for the purpose of enforcement. She violated it in under a week. Caught on Ring camera snapping pictures of Carol's Halloween wreath at 6:14 a.m. That footage was sent straight to the prosecutor. They tacked on harassment. But then came the twist that flipped Karen's entire life sideways. During the financial investigation, a forensic accountant found an out-of-state bank account open under her maiden name, connected to the same fraudulent HOA filing she used in Nevada. Why does that matter? Because she never disclosed that account in her ongoing divorce proceedings. That's right. Karen's ex-husband, who quietly moved to Oregon, was entitled to half of any unreported income during their split. When notified, he immediately contacted his lawyer, who filed a motion to reopen asset division and attach the entire Maple Hills HOA fraud case as evidence. Now, Karen wasn't just being investigated for tax fraud and wire fraud. She was being sued in civil court by her own ex. She lost her fake power, her fake HOA, her online business, her money, and now half of whatever was left. Carl called it a karmic full-circle moment. Duke just muttered, "This is better than cable." Meanwhile, city council members voted unanimously to create a new resident advisory board, the first real one. And guess who they invited to join? Me, Greg, Carol, and Duke. We agreed, but only on one condition: no clipboards allowed. The irony? The first thing we voted on was officially banning unauthorized HOAs and non-consensual fines. It passed unanimously. But even as Karen's world collapsed, she wasn't done fighting. Her final play would be the most humiliating yet, a desperate attempt to regain control by flipping the narrative. And it would backfire in the most poetic way possible. With lawsuits mounting, bank accounts frozen, and her fraud laid bare across 3 zip codes, Karen did what narcissists do best. She flipped the script. First came the PR stunt. One morning, the neighborhood woke to laminated flyers duct taped to lampposts titled, "My Side of the Story," by Karen Abernathy, former community organizer. In it, she claimed she was a victim of a coordinated smear campaign led by radicalized property owners who hijacked her vision of neighborhood harmony for their own anti-authority agenda. She even cited stress-induced migraines, insomnia, and emotional vandalism as damages. What is emotional vandalism, you ask? According to Karen, it's when your reputation is graffitied by liars. The flyers included QR codes linking to a new website she launched, truth4maplehills.net, a painfully slow-loading blog where she posted grainy photos of my driveway, Greg's mailbox, and a 900-word essay titled, "What the HOA Would Have Prevented." The crown jewel? A YouTube video she uploaded of herself crying into a ring light, dramatically reading excerpts from her own HOA charter while Chopin played softly in the background. She titled it, "When Order Breaks." Views? 34. One was me. Another was Duke. The rest were bots. But she wasn't done. Karen began reaching out to local media, not to deny the fraud, but to spin it. She framed herself as a whistleblower, claiming she'd uncovered the loophole-filled HOA legal system and was being punished for trying to fix it from within. She offered interviews, wrote op-eds, and even tried to pitch a book deal, tentatively titled "The Woman Who Tried." But her PR campaign tanked before it began. Mara Lang, the reporter who broke the story, published a brutal follow-up piece. From enforcer to fraudster, the Karen Abernathy redemption tour no one asked for. It featured emails Karen sent to her fake board calling Greg a holiday inflatables anarchist and threatening to report Carol's rees to Homeland Security. Public sympathy? Gone. The nail in the coffin came during a town hall livestream, open to the entire city. Karen, flanked by 2 people from her wine club, tried to give a speech under the guise of rebuilding trust. She opened with, "I know many of you feel hurt by my passion," which earned a wave of sarcastic coughs. She then tried to hand out her revised HOA guidelines, now hilariously rebranded as community wellness agreements. But she hadn't cleared it with the council. They stopped her mid-sentence. The city attorney, who'd been quietly compiling everything, stood up and made a surprise announcement. Karen was now under active criminal investigation for wire fraud, impersonation of municipal authority, and elder financial abuse. She froze mid-flyer handout. The live stream chat exploded. Someone typed, "Alexa, play Another One Bites the Dust." Karen panicked, claimed it was a political witch hunt, and then, in an act of pure delusion, tried to declare a new HOA on the spot. "I hereby announce the Maple Hills Restoration Coalition," she said, raising her hand like she was taking an oath. A toddler nearby screamed, "B-O-O," and that was the loudest applause of the night. Within minutes, security escorted her out, not forcibly, but with the kind of slow, polite authority that humiliates you more than handcuffs ever could. Outside, a small crowd had gathered with folding chairs and snacks. Greg passed out mock violation, notices reading crime, excessive ego, fine, social oblivion. The next day, Karen's blog disappeared. Her YouTube was wiped clean. Her flyers vanished from mailboxes.